Today I'm using pastels in Artrage on the iPad. Hi everyone, today I thought I would give pastels in Artrage on the iPad a go. One of the things I like about using Artrage is the fact that you don't have to worry about sorting out a paper texture. That's all taken care of in Artrage for you. So when I set this up, I selected a kind of a thick paper and I added a colour to it, because obviously if you're using pastels, you're usually working on a darker coloured ground. You don't work on white paper. So that's what's happening here. And I thought I would have a go at this photograph of some lupins that I took on my phone when I was at a place called the English Garden at Elveston Castle. Now, it used to be called the Secret Garden, and it's got a wall all the way around it, and it is quite, Elveston Castle's a big place and it is quite tricky to find. But now they've changed the name to the English Garden. I don't know why, because I used to think the sound of a secret garden was way more exciting than an English garden. Anyway, I did the bulk of this drawing with just the pastel, and I didn't change any of the settings on it whatsoever other than the size. And that is basically the only tool I used, except when I got to the end, I felt it needed a little bit of detail in there, and I used the pencil, but sort of put the thickness of the pencil up quite a bit to give it more of a sort of pastel look. But they are the only two tools I used in the old drawing. I didn't use any blending tools. I didn't create any layers with multiply on or anything like that. It's all done as just using this pastel brush. And I have to say, I really like this pastel brush. If you just brush very lightly with your pen, you get these really light strokes that just graze the surface of the texture of the paper. And if you press on a little bit harder, it obviously applies more chalk to the canvas. And as the paint, or I should say pigment, not paint, as the pigment builds up, talking like it's real pigment, but it really does feel that way. It feels like it's real pigment. As the pigment builds up, it starts to blend rather than just sort of add colour on there and sit on the surface. The pigments of the colours you already have on mixed together. So it really is a very realistic feeling to using a traditional pastel. That is the most realistic I've used so far on any app, without a doubt. So I did quite enjoy working with this. I thought it was really, really nice to use. And the palette, I suppose I've gone for a little bit more green than in the actual photograph. Less yellow, sort of more bluer greens in there. And I've kind of upped the contrast between those lupins and the background by using lighter colours than perhaps in the photograph, and slightly dark colours behind it. And I think that helps sort of lift the lupins and push them forward, rather than if I just did them the same as the photo, it all looks a little bit flat. It's very difficult to see what's in the background and what's in the foreground. Everything's almost the same colour. So I tried to use colour to give the impression, colour and tone to give the impression of distance. So I'm using these sort of bluer greens behind those lupins, and then in the foreground, and I've got these lighter colours. You see there now I'm putting quite a lot lighter pinks into those lupins to really, I hope they are lupins, because I'm saying the lupins and they look like lupins to me, but I'm thinking now, I wonder if they're actually oleox. They might be oleox, you know. Anyway, they look a bit like lupins, don't they? So I'm sticking with lupins. I'm not the best gardener in the world. I'm not that sure what I'm talking about when it comes to flowers. But they're pretty, and I thought they make a nice picture. I'm sure you'll let me know if you think they are lupins or oleox. So I have done the all of the painting in my head thinking they were lupins, and it's now just occurred to me that they're not lupins at all. Oh well, never mind. So now you can see I'm sort of using darker colour, and I was just sort of putting some shadows in behind those lupins again, and now working in the foreground, and I'm going into the yellows, can you see, to sort of bring that forward a little bit. And I thought I was going to finish the old picture just using the pastels and without any pencil work or any fine detail. But as I'm sort of working on it and sort of building it up, it's becoming more apparent to me that I am going to have to put some sort of detail just to tie it all together a little bit, because it just does look a little bit loose and a little bit abstract perhaps in the foreground. And I was okay when I come to put the detail work in, because you can buy pastel pencils, of course. So it's not like I'm cheating or anything like that. It would be something that I would probably do if I was working in pastels. Although I must say I do use just pastels and then sort of use the edges of them to make little marks and things like that, rather than use pastel pencils, because I haven't actually in fact got any pastel pencils, but I know you can get them. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. I think now you see I'm putting some real darks in. I felt it needed some darks in that foreground, in the shadow, to sort of push that forward even more. So I think it's working quite well now. I think I've really got this feeling of depth, and sort of add in a little bit more yellow. You can see it is definitely more yellow in that foreground, and add in these extra sort of leaves and things just to add these finishing touches. And I'm kind of coming to the end of the pastel work, and then I'm just sort of overworking it, and I'm thinking it's looking good, and as a small picture it looks fine, but when you look at it full size, it doesn't look so good at all. It does look a bit blurry, and it just needs things tightening up. So I've just signed it, and I was thinking it was finished, and then I felt, no, you know what? I'm going to have to go in and start doing some pencil work. And I did the pencil work and forgot to actually record it. But here it is. You can see there's not a lot of it. I just went around the tops of the lupins and some of the lupins and some of the leaves. And then I used the pastel pencil again just to sort of smudge out some of those pastel leaves. So that is it. That is my pastel drawing in Artrage on the iPad. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.